Sushil, Kumar Raja, Santa Sir. Thank you, Prashant. Thanks everyone for joining in. Uh, and I hope you have gone to the module 3 by Professor Pandurangan. These revision hackathons are a way to revise the original hackathon that was taken by the original session taken by Professor Pandurangan. So, how many of you have finished Professor Pandurangan's third lecture, the third series video? If you have finished, type me in the chat box. Yeah, thank you so much, Sanket. Right. So, was it recent, Sanket? Or when? Thank you so much, Rashik. Great. So, we are going to revise the same concepts. So, this will be a shorter session than the actual session because there we go in very deep details. Here we brush up a few concepts, and if you have any concerns, you can let me know. And I would, if that is completely within my scope, I'd be answering all of it immediately. And if there's anything, we'll carry up it within the next session. Okay, so let's begin. Today we would be talking about the need for public key cryptography in the last session. So how many of you were there in the previous session where we were discussing about encryption and the compression functions SHA-256? Thank you, Prasad. So people who are joining us on YouTube, you can join us with the Zoom link that is provided. That's also fine, right? Completely fine. Thank you so much. Thanks, Prasad. Thanks, Sushmita. That's great. Okay, so let's begin. Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Okay, great. So in previous sessions, we have seen about the hashing functions and all. Today, we will try to understand more about digital signatures in this particular session, right? So I'll be referencing a lot of points that were taken out by Professor Pandurangan sir, a few exact moments from his session as well. Right. So first, we will try to understand why there is need for public key cryptography. Okay. So now in private key cryptography, which is also known as symmetric key cryptography, the same key is used at encryption and decryption. Right. So what happens in such scenario? There is no actual true encryption that is happening, because if the same secret is known easily to other person, they can easily decrypt your message, right? So now people who are watching us on YouTube, I would request you there or mute yourself here on Zoom, right? Okay, let us do that. Okay, we're good. Now, so in private key, what happens? The sender uses the key to encrypt a plain text message, and the recipient uses the same key to decrypt the ciphertext, right? So that is how the encryption and decryption happens. Now, this private key is also used in a few algorithms, which include AES and DES, which it's not in our current scope. We are more keen on learning key cryptography. Now in public key, what happens is it's a two-way, right? There is a public key and there is a private key. The public key is used to encrypt the message. We'll notate that also with M. And the private key is used to decrypt the ciphertext, right? So the cipher, we'll understand about it. What happens is, to understand it in a deeper way, the sender will encrypt the plain text, okay, using the recipient's public key, right? So what is public key here? Professor Pandurangan sir takes a message that even you can message to, let's just say, even Prime Minister, right? So only thing that you would require is to the knowledge of their public key, right? So now you can encrypt using your encryption algorithm, and when the recipient receives the message, they can decrypt it by the ciphertext using their own private key. Okay, so it's two different keys. Okay, it is not the same. Like in private key, what happens is the same key opens the lock every time. Here this two-way, right? So I hope this particular distinction between the private key and public key is clear, right? So if this is clear, what is the difference between the private key cryptography and public key cryptography? Type U in the chat box. If you've understood it clearly, type U in the chat box. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you, Rishik. That's great. Okay, so we'll proceed then. So now what happens is, if at any moment if you have any concern, you can put it in the chat box or even unmute and ask, right? So now public key algorithms include a lot of them. Like even Professor Pandurangan mentions that this particular type of cryptography is used in many applications, right? So a few of them are RSA and the elliptic curve cryptography that we will also understand in the coming slides. Okay, so now because public key cryptography allows us using the digital signatures, right? So every user has a pair of keys, a public and a secret. And sir also has mentioned the importance of keeping the secret secure, right? Because if the secret key is compromised, then the whole of the the person who's eavesdropping or person who is trying to hack your account can easily get through the account, right? So this particular secret has to be only and only with you on the whole earth, right? The encryption and decryption process use public and secret key. We'll also see how that happens, right? So now what Professor Pandurangan sir has done here is he mentions, like, if A is trying to send a message to B, now the public key is also noted. The notation could be like the public PKA and the secret is SKA, the secret key. The similarly with B. Now what is happening is there is encryption happening, which takes two parameters. One is the message that we are trying to send along with the public key. Okay, so now what we have got a cipher text, right? So now this particular cipher, while you are now decrypting that ciphertext along with the secret key of A, then you will be able to get the message back, right? So this happens in two steps. While you are encrypting, you're using the public key and going through the algorithm and generating the C, and then using the same one with the secret key to decrypt the message, right? So I hope how whatever we have learned in text, that has been shown in sir's writing himself, right? Okay, so how many of you understood this clearly? If you understood this, type U in the chat box. Okay, thank you so much, Rashik. Thank you, Sanjana. Thank you, Ravindra sir. Okay, so now let's just say if somebody is trying to eavesdrop, let's just say somebody is trying to listen to your message or know your message. What is happening? Here, the B is sending a message to A. Now, what the first step is, B obtains the public key of A, right? So if you are trying to send a message to the Prime Minister, let's just say, you should be able to obtain the public key. Like, it is like where you are sending the message, right? So now B runs this. He encrypts using the public key of A and along with his own message, and then generates C. Then B sends C to A. He does not send the message, he sends C to A. Now C is only the thing that is newly generated by B and given to A, but A has his own public key and his own secret key. Public key was given to B, right? So he has his own secret. Now he can decrypt by using his secret and get the message that was sent by B. Let's just say somebody is there who's trying to eavesdrop or tap wire or trying to understand the message between B and A. He will be able to get the message. The message is C, but he'll not be able to decrypt it. He'll be only getting the cipher text and he'll not be able to decrypt it. So because the decryption takes C and also the secret of A, which E does not have, right? So if E has the secret of A, then he'll be able to know the message, right? So this is what secures and makes the public key cryptography a very good use for something we call the digital signatures. So which is where we go next, right? Thank you so much, Sanket. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Amazing, right? So now how do you send secure messages? We have seen the option. Now how a message can be securely sent from a user, we have understood that an eavesdropper is trying to intercept the message. He'll not be able to read it without the secret key. We have also understood that. We also understood the importance of encryption function being a one-way function, right? In our previous session, the revision hackathon 2 also, we've understood how to maintain security. This is only a one-way function. People cannot decrypt it, right? So that is also just a minute. Yeah, really sorry there. So we've understood these particular sections here. Now the finding and obtaining the public key of the desired recipient is the only step that would be required, right? Now comes the digital signatures. So what is a digital signature? It's a digital signature is nothing but the common agreement, right? So digital signature employs encryption and decryption algorithms both, but in case of Bitcoin, encryption and decryption is not used, right? So the public key and the secret key are used for the signing process. Okay, so there are two processes. We'll understand this even by the example that Professor Pandurangan sir explains. Now, digital signature serve as a binding association, like a similar, paper agreement, right? So, Professor Pandurangan takes an example. Let's just say you have somebody has given a 10,000 rupees, and there is a counterfeit, a fake agreement which has your own signature that you have lended or given, right? Later, you cannot deny it, because if the signature matches, you cannot deny given something. If, for example, I've taken 10,000 from you, the challenge is later I can say that no, this agreement is false. I have not taken it. That signature is not mine. I can say, I can also say I'm deny it. The other person sometimes, in case, he can say that he can deny if he has taken it, right? So the receiver and sender both can deny it, right? So how do we protect both of these people by a digital signature is the challenge, right? So the key properties of a signed document include being unforgeable, because somebody should not say that so and so person has given money, or so and so person has agreed onto something without him actually knowing. So it has to be unforgeable and provide the protection of not being denied. Like, the other person also should not deny it, right? So let's just say you got the document, later then he says it is he wants to deny it. That is also has to be protected. So how do we achieve that? So now what happens in digital signatures is there are two processes. One is signing Now what happens is how we have understood the public key in public key cryptography. There is a message. Now here with the secret key, what you are doing is you are using a signing function and creating a document, right? Okay, so that is what is happening in digital signature. And at the verifier's end, he will take the document that is generated, which has your own secret key. So you cannot deny it because it's your own secret key. And he puts in the verified signature document and the original document, then uses your public key and tries running the verify function, right? So when then the output is yes, this is a legit agreement, or no. So that is what uh, happens when you use a digital signature. When you sign a document, it is with your secret key, and when somebody verifies it, it is using your public key and the output of the signature function. Okay. Yes. So one cannot deny Santa said that you are completely right. One cannot deny in a digital if he has done the digital signature is done. Even digitally, even in today's world, so he cannot deny. So it is considered as legit as a paper or a regular agreement. Right. Thank you so much. So that is what we want to bring to the digital world also. That is where these properties are coming in. A signing algorithm takes the message and secret and produces a signature. Let's say we call it sigma, right? So the verification algorithm takes the signature and the public key, and that can be executed by anyone. So it can be executed by the person who is getting it, or the person who is trying to do a settlement, or a judge, or a court, right? So anyone can verify it. So the mechanism of digital signature provides both the properties that we are looking for, that it should not be forgeable, and it should not be a person should not deny it. So here the nature repudiation, the non-repudiation, it means that the person will not be able to deny that he has signed it, he has not signed it or something, right? So that is, both of these properties are being given by digital signatures, right? The signing algorithm can only be executed by the signer, while the verification algorithm can be done by anyone, right? So I hope why we use digital signatures is clear, and how the signing algorithm and the verification algorithms are both used, and who uses signing, who uses the verification algorithms is clear, right? So if you understood this portion of the session, type U in the chat box. Thank you so much, Rashik. Thank you, Ravindra. Yeah, so in future, Santa sir agrees and says in future reduces the lawsuits if the digital signature is adopted. Yes, thank you so much, sir. So but when you're talking about Bitcoin or complex algorithms or documents, not every time the message is small, right? Sometimes messages are some MBs, some documents. Sometimes it is in GBs also, right? So this is what Professor Pandurangan sir also explains, that if the document is bigger, now what do we do? How do we try to use it? Rishik says hash the message. So what we do in signature is we hash. In our previous lecture, we have understood how do we hash. So whatever message is there, we use the hash and do the same signing algorithm and use the verification algorithm, right? So now when you hash it, it is only 256 bits, right? So however big the message is, it is hashed further, and the smaller signature is always there. So the signature will always get the 256 bits on it. Right. Thank you so much, Rishi. Right. So we'll understand a little more about this to also understand the encryption, and also we get into the next point, which is the elliptical curve cryptography, right? So how can we make it more secure, right? How can we use such big bits, right? Even how do we encrypt that, and how do we get those points? All those things we understand. Yeah, Kumar, you ask, the secret key and public key be only one forever? Yeah, so basically, in general, right, it depends upon the use case that you're using. So if at all, for one particular, for example, transactions, if you're looking at transactions, it is one secret and one public key. And if at all you lose the secret for that particular account, or whatever is held in that particular wallet, let's just say if you're talking about wallet use case, you lose whatever the access is there for that particular thing, right? So depends upon this particular use case that you are doing it, Kumar. But all the secret keys that you have, all the public keys that you have, if you are using for multiple cases, will point back to you only, so that you cannot deny it, right? So that is what you have to understand. I hope that answers. Yes, thank you so much. So many times it happens, some people forget their secret and they create another account. Let's say they're creating with a different this thing, then they'll have one more. But ideal case, it's always having one is enough, and having that secret safe is always better, right? So to understand a little more about the elliptic curve cryptography, will Professor Pandurangan sir explains how a point is mapped, and how do we know that a point is on a line, right? So what we have done here is, there's an equation, and let's just say there's an equation which says y equal to 3x plus 5. How do you know that any point is on that particular line? Basically, you substitute it. Let's just say is 10 comma 35. Yes, Roshik, we match LHS and RHS, right? We submit, and we fill in X and Y, and then we'll know that if that point is there on that particular line or not, right? So similarly, elliptic curve also has its own equation, right? So we'll learn a little about, understand what is the elliptic curve a little bit, right? So the elliptic curve is of an equation of form y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b, right? So this is the generic equation of the elliptic curve. Now a and b are constants here. The point set of the elliptic curve is set of all points that are x comma y, like how we saw in the previous slide. What all points satisfy x comma y are going to be the points on the curve, right? So along with the point at infinity, which means 0 comma 0, let's just say the 0 comma 0, in some cases, in some graphs, its origin, here we call it the point at infinity. Now these points have some special properties. All these points that satisfy this equation have a few special properties. So we'll try to understand those properties. So any non-vertical line, that non-vertical line is any slant line, okay, that intersects the curve at two different points, will also intersect the curve at exactly one more point with the coordinates x comma minus 5. So if you have gone through the lecture, we'll go and we'll also understand that. Okay, so let me first show the diagram modes. Okay, so if not, so let me have it online. Let me share my screen and show it to you. Give me a second. Oh, my screen is still shared, no? Let's just say here. Okay, so there's no slant line. Okay, like this is a good example, right? So now if my is my screen visible? If my screen is visible, type B in the chat box. Okay, thank you, Prasad. So now if you see, if this particular line is drawn, it is getting in touch at 2 points. One, if it is, let's just say x comma y, the other point would be x comma minus y. So there's also a little understanding, a little detail Professor Pandurangan sir goes and lets us know. We'll also go through that particular process. Okay. So just visualize. Okay. So you do not have to visualize. Let me put it across here. Okay. I hope this will help. Great. So now that any non-vertical line intersects the curve at two distinct points, we'll also intersect the curve exactly one more point with the coordinates x comma minus y, right? So this is the nature of this elliptical curves which follow this equation, right? Now there is a special operation called point addition that can be done. So now what point addition is also we'll know. Point addition is basically if there are any 2 points on the curve, you can directly add them, and that particular third, the point that gets generated is also on the same curve, right? So this we'll also understand how these properties help us in making it more secure also, right? So the operation produces a third point on the curve only, and it is cumulative associative and has an identity element, right? Which means it will also have the same properties as every property. For example, now if you see there is one point r here, let's just say it was on 2 comma 4 roughly, you will have a minus r, let's just say, which is 2 comma 2 comma 4 was here and 2 comma minus 4 is here, right? So okay, I'm sorry, which is 2 here y. Okay, we are right. 2 on x, 4 on y, minus and plus, right? So I hope the property of the elliptic curve is understood, right? So we'll understand more about elliptic curves and the cryptography of elliptic curve. But if you understood what is an elliptic curve, which a curve that satisfies this equation, all the points that satisfy this equation have special properties. One of that property is point addition, and if there is one point which is x comma y, there is also x comma minus y that is also on the curve, right? Basically this curve is symmetric on the x-axis, so that is where you'll have a plus y, then there will be a minus y, right? It's like a mirror image, right? So if you have understood this, type u in the chat box. Yes. So Rushik, you've taken my second point. Rushik says both y and minus y lie on the curve. Because why does that happen? Now here we have y square. Okay, so let's just say there is one particular point, that x comma y, which is satisfying this equation. Now what will happen is y square, when you want to find y equal to the square root of whatever is there on the right hand side. So there is a plus and minus to it. That is the reason you will have both positive and negative. So thank you so much, Rishik, for clarifying, and that's what was our next point. And this is a very good exercise because you already this tells us that you've already gone through the session, or at least have understood this particular topic.